How's it going, gamers? Luis here from GVN, and thank you guys very much for all the positive feedback on the Splatoon Beta Zone video. You guys really seem to like it. There's actually a bunch of other episodes already out, so if you want to check out the rest of the episodes in that series, check out the link in the description below or the little eye icon on the corner of this video. Most recently, I uploaded a video called The Evolution of the Pokemon series, and I thought I'd continue that trend or Pokemon theme with this video, learning about the history and development of the Pokemon Red and Green, the games that started it all. Pokemon or Pocket Monsters didn't start off as Pokemon. Originally, the game beta was called Capsule Monsters. Capsule Monsters was created by Satoshi Tajiri in 1990, and it was the beta of Pokemon Red and Green. The idea of Capsule Monsters sprouted out of Satoshi Tajiri's early hobby of collecting bugs as a kid. Satoshi wanted to create a game that could recapture those bug collecting memories he had as a child. The idea of using capsules came from the Gashapon vending machines in Japan that were really popular at the time. The Gashapon machines would release a little capsule with a toy inside for children to play with. The name of the Capsule Monsters ended up becoming Capumon due to some legal trouble with the name's copyright, and eventually ended up becoming Pocket Monsters. Capsule Monsters was pitched to Nintendo a total of 7 times before it was finally pitched for an 8th time with the help of Miyamoto, and finally accepted by Nintendo. Because Miyamoto was a big help to Pokemon, the default names in the original Pokemon Green and Red in Japan were Satoshi and Shinjiro, named after Shinjiro Miyamoto and Satoshi Tajiri. The early design sketches of Pocket Monsters shows us a good understanding of where the game was headed. In early development of the game, you could find concept art for early Pokemon that would either go on to become Pokemon in the first generation, or even in later generations. Some of these concepts resemble Pokemon like Lapras, Rhydon, Slowbro, Nidorino, and Gengar. There's also some sketches that show early designs of the Pokeball. In the early designs of the Pokeball, there would be a 2-part system, so it wouldn't just be one single sphere, it would actually split apart into 2 different parts. There's also some early designs of the early stages of the Pokemarts, the Pokemon Center, and Red's bedroom, and a couple of towns. These designs show that at one point you were able to actually buy Pokemon from the Pokemart, as well as you'd be able to heal your Pokemon in a little capsule healing machine within your bedroom. It also looks like Pokemon Centers were originally going to be hotels and not really just a place for Pokemon, a place where trainers and Pokemon can rest. Early artwork for Pocket Monsters reveals that originally players would be able to play as a female character as well. This feature would be brought back for the later remakes of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. The trainer battles were also slightly different in the early days of Pocket Monsters. Originally, the game was going to let you rebattle all the trainers you've defeated, as well as all the wild Pokemon encounter rates would be much higher than they originally are, but that was later lowered in the final version of the game. In an interview with Game Center CX, Sageki Morimoto confirmed that the original first generation Pokemon was going to feature a total of 190 Pokemon, rather than the original 151. This explains why there's 39 slots for Missing Gnome found in the index of Pokemon Red and Green. These are actually Pokemon that were deleted in the final version of the game. Digging into the code of these games, one can find 3 programmed Pokemon battles with Professor Oak. Depending on which Pokemon Red and Blue chose, the remainder Pokemon starter would be raised by Professor Oak. Professor Oak's team would be made of a level 66 Tauros, a level 67 Executor, a level 68 Arcanine, a level 69 remainder starter, and a level 70 Gyarados. This team is set at a higher level than your rival team when they're Pokemon champion, suggesting that this Professor Oak battle was actually going to be the final big battle in the Pokemon game. Originally, there was going to be a bird-type Pokemon. This can be seen in some of the Missing Gnome data in the final versions of the Gen 1 games. The bird-type was most likely a beta version of the flying type. The bird-type data can actually still be found in Generation 2 games, most likely because Generation 2 games run on an upgraded version of the Generation 1 game engine. There was also an unused trainer class called Chief that didn't make it into the final version of the game, although there's still some data for the class that can still be found in the final version of the game. The trainer class is even referenced by Team Rocket members in Saladon City. Some Japanese text in the Japanese versions of Pokemon Red and Green suggest that the Chief class may have been for a battle between the trainer and the president of the Silphco Company, also possibly hinting that in the original story for Pokemon, Silphco Company was going to work with Team Rocket and not be held hostage by Team Rocket. There's also an unused track in Pokemon Red and Green's code that's not entirely finished and slightly broken. However, some Pokemon fans like Cold Boy Man have restored the game to make it playable. It's pretty catchy. Some people think that this song is the beta version of the Pallet Town theme, while others think it's a song for an unused town that didn't make it into the final version of the game. Some Pokemon were also going to feature different names in North America that closely resembled the Japanese names. For example, Jigglypuff was named Purin in Japan, and its beta name in North America was Pudding before it finally became Jigglypuff. And there's a ton of other entries like this. I'll have a link to that in the description below. And that pretty much wraps it up for the beta of Pokemon Green and Red. A really interesting story, I think, in my opinion. It's crazy to think that it took a total of 8 tries before that game got finally certified by Nintendo. Imagine if it never did get certified. We would never have Pokemon Green and Red, and we would never have any other Pokemon game. With that said, thank you guys very much for watching the video. If you guys enjoyed it and want to support my channel and my work, please consider giving it a like and share with your friends, as it really helps this channel grow. If you want to check out some of my other content, I recently put up the top 5 most underrated game consoles of all time, as well as the evolution of the Pokemon series, so if you like Pokemon, you might want to check out that video. Aside from that, in the description of this video you can find all my gaming usernames if you want to add me on PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo, or if you want to follow me on Facebook or Twitter, or you want to support my work on Patreon. All that stuff can be found in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.